Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Daybreak, a UN committee passes a resolution that calls on the Security Council to consider referring North Korea to the International Criminal Court for alleged crimes against humanity. The special envoy of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un meets Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow as both sides look to each other for an ally amid their deepening diplomatic isolation. Plus, Israel's Prime Minister vows to respond with a heavy hand after Palestinian militants kill 4 people in an attack on a synagogue in Jerusalem. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, November 19th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. And we start this morning with some news just coming in. The UN General Assembly resolution drafted by the European Union and Japan to refer North Korea to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity has been approved by a UN committee. That resolution calls on the Security Council to recommend Pyongyang to the ICC. The so-called Third Committee approved it in a 111-19 vote. Only 5 countries abstained. This after the UN committee voted down a Cuban proposal that would have essentially eliminated the leadership's accountability for the regime's rights abuses. Of course, North Korea has long been criticized for its human rights abuses, holding hundreds of thousands of people in political prison camps. We'll have more details on this story in our later newscasts. Now, North Korea and Russia, 2 countries teetering on the edge of diplomatic isolation for one reason or another, are attempting to make nice with one another, looking to forge at least one friendly relationship on the international stage. Yeonjae, the special envoy for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, has been holding talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The Kremlin says Che gave Putin a personal letter from Kim Jong-un, but it did not elaborate on what the 2 men actually talked about during their meeting. Pundits assume they discuss ways to strengthen their 2 countries' bilateral ties. The North Korean envoy, who is on an 8-day trip to Russia, is scheduled to meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Thursday. The chairwoman of South Korea's Hyundai Group made a 1-day trip to North Korea on Tuesday, where she attended an event commemorating the 16th anniversary of the Inter-Korean tourism project operated by her company. The tours to Mount Kumgang haven't been held since 2008, but Hyun Jong-un told reporters upon her return that Hyundai Asan would do everything it could to resume the joint venture. The company says that during the more than 6-year suspension, the company has lost close to 1 trillion won, or roughly $850 million in sales losses. Moving now to domestic politics, and a set of bills related to April's ferry disaster have been given cabinet approval. Under these new laws, 2 new government agencies are going to be established in what's being seen as the government's first step to boost safety measures in the wake of that awful tragedy. Our Ji Myung-gil has this report.
The cabinet passed 3 special bills on this Tuesday aimed at making Korea a safer place and punishing those found responsible for causing human casualties due to lax safety management. Under the amended Government Organization Act, 2 new ministry-level agencies will be set up under the Prime Minister's office. One will oversee disaster and safety management, the other will oversee government personnel matters. President Park Geun-hye tapped former Navy Admiral Park In-yong to head the new safety agency and Lee Geum-myeon to lead the government's Human Resources Agency. Another bill, which has been at the center of contention at the National Assembly for months, also received approval. The so-called Seoul ferry law will set up a special investigative committee composed of 17 members that will have 18 months to look into the cause of the ferry disaster. They will have the legal authority to summon witnesses and appoint a special prosecutor who will investigate and indict those found responsible for the tragedy. And to better compensate victims, the newly enacted Yeonjae law, named after the deceased de facto owner of the Seoul ferry, gives the government more authority to go after and confiscate illegally obtained wealth by individuals or companies. Even related third parties involved in an unlawful act can be subject to asset seizures. Ultimately, it's aimed at holding those accountable for tragedies that result in death. The three special bills come as part of government efforts to respond to fierce public criticism over its failed rescue operations following the fatal Seoul ferry sinking. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Now, in the wake of news that his country had fallen into recession, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Tuesday called a snap election for the middle of next month. Watchers say the move is a bold attempt by Abe to try and shore up support for his decision to postpone an unpopular sales tax rise and also try and breathe fresh life into his particular brand of economic policy. Our Shin Se-min has this report.
The Japanese economy is still suffering from the first consumption tax hike of 5 to 8% delivered in April and is not ready for another rise in the sales tax. This, according to Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who said that the current state of his country's economy forced him to push back a second consumption tax increase of 10% that was set for October next year. His call for a delay comes after data released Monday showed that Japan had slipped into a technical recession following a second consecutive quarterly decline in its gross domestic product. Japan's rising consumer taxes have been blamed for the decline in consumer spending, which affected the quarterly falls.
We have finally grasped this chance of breaking free from deflation which has plagued us for the past 15 years. We cannot let go of this chance. We must not return to that dark and confused period.
Analysts say another delay of the tax increase will slow down the country from repairing its public finances, but Abe said the risk to the economy was a much bigger threat. The Prime Minister also said the lower house of parliament will be dissolved this Friday and called snap elections for mid-December. The move is being seen as a push by Abe to reorganize and strengthen his set of economic policies known as Abenomics. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the Korean economy has some problems of its own, of course, and Korea's central bank governor has expressed concerns over a possible rate rise next year, saying that it could result in some households defaulting on their mortgage loans. Lee Ju-yeol, who you can see there, added Tuesday, though, that households defaulting on their debts is not something that he or the central bank can control. He also said that the impact of changes in the key interest rate have actually diminished due to rising economic uncertainties both at home and abroad these days. On the weakening Japanese yen, the governor said that it's not desirable to implement monetary policies to try and counter the weak Japanese currency. Now, the still baffling disappearance of a Malaysia Airlines plane earlier this year has prompted aviation authorities to change the way they keep track of planes. A report in the Wall Street Journal says a security task force composed of experts will announce a new set of global standards in the coming weeks. One measure would require airlines to automatically report the location of their planes every 15 minutes. In the case of a plane veering off course, the new regulations would allow authorities to keep constant track of the aircraft. The report says the moves are intended to create the first universal real-time tracking system. Though they are not binding recommendations, the task force hopes the measures are embraced by all carriers. Right, well, it's time now for a look through some of the other global headlines we're following on this Wednesday morning here in Seoul, South Korea. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised a harsh and swift response to a bloody attack that took place in a synagogue located in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood of Jerusalem. 4 rabbis were killed and 6 others wounded when 2 Palestinian cousins stormed the house of prayer with meat cleavers and guns in hand during morning prayers on Tuesday. Police said 3 of those killed were Americans and 1 was a Briton, all held dual Israeli citizenship. A firefight ensued before the 2 attackers were shot dead by police. Prime Minister Netanyahu ordered that the perpetrators' homes be destroyed, as well as those of other Palestinians who had struck other attacks in recent days. This bloodiest strike in years occurred as tensions were already high in Jerusalem over access to a holy site known to Jews as the Temple Mount and to Muslims as Al-Haram al-Sharif. Orthodox Jews want to be allowed to pray at the compound, while Palestinians hope to make East Jerusalem, where the site sits, their capital of a future state. The World Health Organization is working on developing faster and cheaper Ebola tests to help stamp out the hemorrhagic virus for good. WHO expert Pierre Fomenti, in a Geneva news conference, said the group was looking at 2 types of speedy tests. One, a PCR integrated test that takes about an hour for results, and the other, one that would only require 15 minutes, similar to a stick pregnancy test. He said currently an Ebola infection is determined by a blood test analyzed at mobile laboratories that requires several hours for a diagnostic. He said the new rapid test would come in the coming 4 to 6 months. Ebola has killed nearly 5,200 people, mostly in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea, with a new cluster of cases being observed in Mali. Sierra Leone has recently lost its 7th doctor in its struggle against the highly contagious virus. And long under heavy fire for alleged corruption, FIFA has turned the tables and filed a criminal complaint against unnamed individuals over the bidding race for the 2018 and 22 World Cups. The world governing body for football said in a statement there seemed to be, quote, isolated cases of international transfers of assets with connections to Switzerland that merit examination by authorities. The criminal complaint was filed to Switzerland's Attorney General on Tuesday. FIFA said it will submit all 430 pages of a recent confidential investigation by American prosecutor Michael Garcia. Russia and Qatar won the bidding contest for the 2018 and 22 World Cups. And finally, American serial killer Charles Manson is set to get married to a 26-year-old woman after a marriage license was issued to him earlier this month in Kings County, California. The 80-year-old is behind bars for killing 7 people, including Hollywood actress Sharon Tate, who was pregnant at the time. His to-be wife, Afton Elaine Burton, who goes by the name Star, moved from her Midwestern home at the age of 19 to be closer to Manson and has been advocating his innocence since. She says they are planning a December wedding. Manson faces a life sentence and is eligible for parole in 2027, at which point he would be in his mid-90s.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
Battery technology has often been cited as a major hurdle in the way of the full commercialization of electric vehicles, particularly in regards to how long it just takes to charge an electric car up. At the moment, at least. But all that might be about to change thanks to some groundbreaking work by Korean researchers. Our Kim Jong-un reports.
A group of Korean researchers has developed lithium-ion batteries that charge 7 times faster than conventional ones. A team of researchers from the Department of Chemical Engineering at Pohang University of Science and Technology made the batteries by exploiting inorganic materials such as silica and titanium. This is different from the traditional method of lining up various templates of colloidal crystals and Black Hawk polymers consecutively, which requires more time and effort. The team says the method also provides a better alternative for the way we synthesize materials and could bring about changes in the way we store energy in the future due to its fast delivery of electrolytes and ions from its complex porous structures. The research team says it's now working on applying their academic findings in the real world and expects to commercialize the technology in 5 years. In the meantime, the post-tech research team is eyeing ways to increase the synthetic scale of its finding for mass production. Their work was first published in the Journal of the American Chemical Society last month. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Now in tech news, dozens of digital content creators and professionals from all around the world are gathered here in Seoul to exchange their biggest and brightest ideas for the rapidly expanding industry. Our Park Ji-won was there and filed this report.
Chung Sung-ha is a young Korean guitarist with several albums and global concerts under his belt, working with various international stars like Jason Mraz. His rise to fame began with a simple video uploaded to YouTube, and now Chung has nearly 3 million subscribers. Yang Ding followed a similar path. As a young female gamer, she creates diverse video sharing contents, mostly broadcasts of games, and has over 1 million YouTube subscribers. They are just a couple examples of the new wave of creators. YouTube Content Operations Director Dave Powell says now is the golden time for individuals to create contents because of the diversity of new media platforms.
Here in Korea, YouTube creators are heralding the one-person startup economy. Fans in Korea and globally are responding. So 25% of our fastest growing channels with international subscribers are endemic or native creators on YouTube. 70% of our fastest growing channels with local or Korean subscribers are created by endemic creators.
Digital technology is affecting more conventional media like television as well. A producer of the US hit program House of Cards says the drama has benefited from big data, which is being used to analyze viewer preferences. However, Hip said that in the end, it's universal themes that capture the attention of viewers, not the technology itself.
Each American network knows their audience and uses tons of research and tons of big data to kind of go in about what makes a show. You can have all the big data you want, but if the artists and the idea isn't something special, then distribution or big data doesn't really matter. It really has to start with the creative first.
This year's International Content Conference has invited guests from all around the world to discuss the latest trends of the industry, from digital technology platforms to big data analysis, and how the technology is changing the nature of the contents they create. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Korean national football team facing off against Iran last night, hoping to win their first match at away in Iran. Now with the addition of Ki Sung-young and Son Heung-min in the lineup, the Korean national football team looked great from the start, with Son Heung-min getting several shots on goal. With the match going into the second half tied 0-0, what looked to be a goalkeeper charging by Sardar Osman in the 81st minute is ruled a goal, as Iran holds on to win this match on a controversial goal, with Korea still winless against Iran at away. And now shifting over to the KBO, where the 2014 KBO award ceremony took place on Tuesday afternoon, and highlighting the event was the MVP of the 2014 KBO season. Now, in a battle between the four Nexon Heroes teammates in Park Byung-ho, Kang Jong-ho, Seok Chang, and Andy Van Hecken, the Nexon second baseman Seok Chang received the most votes with 77, as he was named the 2014 KBO MVP. Now, the former Rookie of the Year finished the 2014 regular season hitting .370 with 135 runs scored, including a KBO record of 201 hits. Meanwhile, NC Dino second baseman Park Min-woo was awarded the 2014 Rookie of the Year honors, beating out Nexon reliever Cho Sang-woo. And moving on, some good news for all the baseball fans in the world, as the sport will most likely return to the Olympics during the 2020 Tokyo Summer Games. Now, with the IOC holding a meeting in Switzerland, IOC President Thomas Bach proposed 40 recommendations as part of his reform agenda. The 2020 Olympic agenda, as it's called, also includes a proposal to all host cities to propose inclusion of one or more events. With the proposal likely to be passed next month in Monaco, baseball will most likely be included again in the 2020 Tokyo Summer Games after 12 years since being left out of the Summer Olympics. Now, on Tuesday, the KBO award ceremony might have taken the spotlight, but the 2014 Korea Women's Athletic Award winners were also announced, and grabbing the spotlight there was rhythmic gymnast Yeonjae. The 20-year-old rhythmic gymnast, who enjoyed an incredible season in 2014, was given the top prize among some of the top female athletes in Korea. Now, earlier this year, she won Korea's first Asian Games gold medal in rhythmic gymnastics, increased her streak of 11 straight World Cup events with a podium finish, and also finished fourth in this year's World Championships. And now finishing things off in speed skating with the second stage of the ISU Speed Skating World Cup kicking off in Taenung on the 21st. Olympic champion Sven Kramer of the Netherlands arrived in Korea and held a youth clinic. Now, on Tuesday afternoon, the 28-year-old speed skater held a youth speed skating clinic with 20 Korean students, hoping to be the next Lee Sang-hwa or even Sven Kramer. And he was quite impressed with the youngsters, stating that their speed is incredible in these short-distance races. Now, he added that they should first learn to enjoy the sport in order to succeed. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, temperatures dropped to freezing mark again, but wind chill is much of a factor this morning, so it should feel slightly milder than yesterday. But central inland region, including here in Seoul, could see layers of fog this morning. So if you're hitting the road soon, please drive with extra caution. But it will be a bright day today with plenty of sunshine across the nation, and that clear skies will lead to a milder afternoon with highs hovering in the low teens. So let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now, the daily low in Seoul started out at 0, then the daytime high in the capital will rise to 11, while Daegu and Gwangju tops out at 15, or 14 that is, and Busan will peak at 15 this afternoon. Now, let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju Island and Daejeon will be getting up to 14 and 13 later on, while Dokdo see a highs of 11. Please be aware of a big temperature difference and dress accordingly to avoid catching a cold. Now, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Okay, well, that's going to do it from us for now. Korea Today is coming up at the top of the hour, 7 a.m. Korea time. Have a great day or night, wherever you're watching us, and stay tuned to Arirang. Goodbye.